In this video, we're going to be learning backgammon by watching Wilcox Snellings play as part of the Backgammon with Grandmasters series. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy this video. Please like and subscribe and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below and what you'd like to see in future videos, and I'll work on that. So we have Wilcox Snellings, one of the best players in the world, showing us how to play DMP matches. These are 1-point matches, double match point. Thank you for joining me and welcome to Wilcox.
Thanks, Alex. I thought this would be a fun thing to try out, and hopefully we'll get at least a couple of interesting games, and I'll play competently enough, but we'll have some interesting reviews. The only thing I was going to say about DMPs is that yeah, there's some people that play them, or if they don't have much time, you know, they'll go to a website, Mark's Galaxy or somewhere, and play a bunch of quick DMPs. I think they're a terrific learning tool, and we get so used to playing either money games or playing matches or playing against XG in matches because that's what goes on in tournaments. But I think the nuts and bolts of backgammon sometimes get a little bit forgotten. We kind of, especially if the top players, or very strong players, start thinking, well, I'm just mainly going to focus on the cube, because for almost anyone in the world, their cube action, their cube errors are more significant than, not in total, but as far as degree of errors per opportunity to make a decision, they're far greater than they are for checker play. But there's a lot of checker play that we don't see quite as often because there are many games that aren't played to conclusion, either for money or in matches. And granted that there's some end game positions where there's already a closeout, or I'm not talking about positions that are essentially done, but there are a lot of positions in which the end game strategy or following through in a game where normally you would have been doubled out, or you would have, or the opponent would have been doubled out, you're forced to actually bring these games home. And I just think there's a lot of value to that. You also see a greater variety in a shorter period of time. And the way I do it with friends is, well, fairly serious backgammon friends, but we'll play DMPs. And if we get to a position where it's really quite clear who's going to win, we just restart. We don't waste extra time there. So we do generate, more games than you would if you literally played them out to conclusion. But anyhow, I hope we learned a little bit, or there's some entertainment value in the games that we played today.
Yes, I think it will be entertaining and educational. Just for a moment, it looks like your video is frozen, so you can go ahead and try to correct that as you did just a moment ago. But in the meanwhile, yeah, thank you. That looks good. What we'll do is the DMP. I think this is really good, and we'll be able to fit this in a relatively short video as opposed to having a long match. We can do multiple DMPs. So I'll go ahead and share the screen. There we go. So here, before we started the first move, you're playing the red checkers at the bottom, and Extreme Gammon is playing the white checkers at the top. This is on the beautiful Gammoner Paul McGreal X22 commemorative board. This is by Rain, and I have a link in the description to where people can get that. Looks like your video got cut out, but I think it's okay now that we're just looking at the board. Anyway, here's the first game. White started with a 4-1, and I'll go ahead and roll. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
And just the thing that we had decided on, which hopefully will work out well for the viewers, is that we're going to check on XG's a determination of my errors after each game. So there won't be a running feed of that until we finish a game. And I think there's and also, if a game gets to the point where there's not much interest left, we'll freeze it there and start a new game. I think that was the other thing we discussed.
Yep, that's perfect. Okay, so
all right, great.
we'll go ahead and get started. Everyone's bearing off on the right. So now red has a 6-3 4-1 slot after 4-1 slot.
6 out for sure. And I should know my second rolls. I would continue, but I think this is pretty close. Okay. Yeah, that's my plan.
What are your thoughts on the second roll?
Well, I should have most of them memorized. I think
Yeah.
I know cold about 90%. So I know there's some players that are very close to 100. Yeah, I mean, here it's just the number of hidden covers, the fact that I'm up barely in the race, and I'm duplicating threes. So those are just like the surface considerations. I might be wrong by a small margin, but I think this is right.
Okay. So 5-1 covers, now 2-1.
This is very extremely simple backgammon. All right, I'm not going to play simple. I'll go 15 to 14 and 13 to 11. And my feeling is here is, again, I don't know if this is correct, but I'm just going to basically, if I'm clearly in doubt, I'll say that here, my idea with this play in any event is I don't want to be super stacked and my opponent is in a position to continue to add to his prime formation. A lot of my rolls on the next roll, if I play very small, are going to play pretty poorly, or enough of them are going to play poorly, and I'm going to be in a very weak position. Here, the twos are duplicated in a couple of ways, and if I don't get hit, obviously my chances of improving my position go way up.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the twos like 4-2 and 5-2 would make the 4-point, and 2-1, and 6-2 would make the bar point. Additionally, the midpoint, white would have to strip the midpoint to hit. With two back checkers stuck anchored on the 24-point, I think that's good. Okay, so made the bar point. Now 4-3.
Okay, so we have two choices. We can slot. I would make the 10-point. The other choice would be go to 14-11 and 13-9, but I think this is better and we get hit less often. So making the 10-point is my play.
White advances with a double one. Now 5-2.
Okay. All right, we step up 24-22, even though we're probably making no progress, and 13-8.
You need to start getting these things moving, right?
Yeah, it's just not a pretty roll. I can't make an interior point, and just have to hope I get through the next sequence in decent shape.
And I think we'll have players of all levels watching this. So we make this, and why would you play 13-8 rather than 11-6?
Well, in either, I mean, with this play, I am keeping a spare on the midpoint, but that's not particularly relevant in this position. With the main thing I'm focused on beyond surviving with my back checker is trying to improve the formation in front of my opponent. So I'm trying to make either the 7-point or the 5-point or the 4-point, and loading up a bunch of builders to that end.
Exactly. Okay. Double 4. That was a great roll.
Crusher.
Now
All
5-4
right.
comes in.
We may be out of business in a moment here. Oh, we
5-3.
got
Okay.
lucky
Two
and hit.
hit.
Yeah. All right. There's a little bit of life here.
Now
Okay.
6-4.
So we can play stiff, and we're only down 5 pips. I guess we're outboarded, and we can't, just because it's DMP, there's more of an inclination to play an open style because we're not afraid of getting gammon. But I would just go 16-6 and hope for the best.
The
Yeah.
race is close.
Yeah.
What would be the open style?
Well, I mean, I think it would probably be making the 2-point. Yeah. Well, let's see. No, maybe you're right. I was just take this back a second. I wasn't really thinking of the backup play. Yeah, this is probably it. But again, we're getting hit with all the aces and attack with 6s and 4s, and he runs out with a bunch of numbers. So I just don't think we're gaining enough. This is more aesthetic. This is putting a checker where we'd like it to be in terms of putting pressure on our opponent. But we're under pressure right now, so that doesn't seem to apply.
Right. That's what I call the Paul McGreal or Kent Goulding play. Put your checkers where they want and make it look good.
Yeah, it's so take this play back, right? All right, just make sure so. 16-6. All right.
I think a lot of the especially when there's a cube in play, a lot of the beginner players don't think about some of these things. For example, the sorry. 3-point board on this side versus the 1-point board. That's an important consideration when you're making these types of plays.
Yeah, and it allows your opponent to just sort of leverage even with rolls that he didn't necessarily care to hit
Right.
with. He's just more inclined to. And I will say, yeah, that just not to beat a dead horse on this one roll here, but there was another option which I wouldn't choose, but you could go 16 to 10 and 6 to 2. And the benefits of this sort of play are keeping a better distribution of your checkers. But the problem is that guy on the 2-point could prove to be a liability in some of the exchanges that may come up in the next roll or two. So I would resist doing this, albeit it has a little appeal.
Yeah, it's important to be able to think about the future rolls in the next sequence or two.
Yeah.
Okay, so white escapes, so now down 14 pips with the 5-2.
Okay, so we're only down 7 pips. I think I would just run out, hope for the best on that end. That's our best game plan, considering we have no home board and our opponent rates to just put more pressure with various builders and points in front of us otherwise.
And if you were down more pips, how many pips would you be down? Like 20 pips, sure, but
Yeah, no, I think I'll just take a stab here. I think if I was down somewhere around 11, 12 pips, that might be the break-even point.
yeah,
But just a guess, of course.
yeah, okay. All right, so now
Okay.
it's race.
Yeah, I think now let's just start a new game because we're
Yeah,
just in a pure race, and
okay.
we don't rate to learn anything, especially because there's no cube.
Let's go to here, and then we can look at the analysis here. We can look at some of the interesting positions.
That's basically just the 6-4. Let's see what it liked.
Where's that 6-4? Oh, okay, so let's do the plus analysis.
Okay.
So
All right.
this
So
play,
it did prefer the distribution play. All right. I can buy that.
and this is the other play. It looks like this, and
Yeah. Yeah. Let's check the other 3 play. We don't have to go too deep, but we can check the other plays behind it, which are
we
also
can look at the. I like to kind of look at the dice distribution feature here.
right.
Load it. It's not huge. It's not
No.
huge.
And I like the distribution. I'm thinking we might conserve that for plays that have bigger differences. And we can check out the next 2 options and even the 10 and 4 play. It's quite a cluster.
Yeah, they're all close.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay,
we
good.
can move on to the next game.
Yeah. All right, 13-8 and 6 to 5.
So for the novice players, a lot of people would split from the 24. Why do you hit with a 6 to 5?
Oh, it's because especially early in the game, fighting for either our 5-point or our opponent's 5-point is key, because if you get to make your 5-point, you're going to have advantages mainly on offense, but also on defense, because as the game unfolds, your opponent's going to be less likely to take risk the stronger the opponent's board is. And making the high points, namely the 5-point followed by the 7-point followed by the 4-point, depending upon what else is going on, but creating a small structure there is leading you in the direction of creating what's called a prime, having a few or several points consecutive, which make it difficult for your opponent to exit his men, and in certain cases also enter from the roof if he's been hit.
Right. One of the things that I think a lot of people don't think about is just having a 2-point board. If the opponent is on the bar, there are 4 rolls that dance, whereas opposed to a 1-point board, there's only 1 roll. So it's 4 times as likely to dance on a 2-point board than a 1-point board.
And the last consideration for those who are really just starting the game is that, yes, you're going to be hit almost half the time here, but even when you're hit, your opponent has no additional points in his home board. So there's a lot of play. You're down a little bit in the race, but you're not under much pressure on the other side.
Yeah, the other thing I've learned in my studying is that in the opening position, um, there are a few main liabilities. Of course, your two back checkers, as well as the stacks on the 6 point and the midpoint. And it's harder to unstack the checkers on the 6 point than the midpoint because they can't go sixes. And if you play fives, they go too deep. You really want to unstack the 6 point with aces, if possible.
Good.
Okay, so 6-4 comes in. Now double one.
Okay, so two of them make our bar point.
You don't
And
play that 6 to 5 first?
well, yeah, I'm just going in a different direction to be
Oh, okay.
different. And 6 to 5 and split with the ace, last ace. Yeah.
I remember Falafel used to say, first make this one, then make that one, then do the other one.
Yeah, I know. Since everyone does that like 99.9% of the time, I thought I'd
Yeah.
mix it up.
Oh, okay. Okay, 5-4, and now 6-4. So down 13 in the race before the play.
Yeah, I would bring two down from the midpoint. Just lay back and try to follow through on improving this already good structural advantage.
Yeah. And white looks pretty inflexible with stacks over here. 6-3 runs out.
Okay, now. All right, so the few quick looks are I wouldn't go 23 to 18 because I think laying back as far as we can is going to get the most action where we end up hitting a shot in the next couple of rolls. The 4 for sure is 9 to 5, and then we have an ace to play. And I don't know, this seems pretty close between 23, 22 and 5 to 4. 5 to 4, yeah, 5 to 4 is good in the sense of getting to make the 4 point a little more quickly, but we may be hitting a fly shot on the next roll, and we haven't a lot of builders to either to make one of these points, the 4 or the 3 as is. So, all right, I'm going to go 9 to 5 then, and 23, 22 would be my play.
So what are you thinking about when you're looking at this play? What's going to happen in the next roll or two? What are you going to want to do? I mean, you have two checkers back, you're 7 pips behind.
Yeah. Yeah, so my idea is I definitely hope to hit a shot. I'm not down so much in the race that, it's possible it just ends up being a race that I have, I'm the small underdog in. But I want to get good coverage. The 22 point is covering the 16 or the opponent's 9 point where he may end up putting a blot there with a couple of rolls like 5-1 in particular. And I'm trying to think of a couple of the sixes that are going to 6-2. I don't know. He has a couple of choices on 6-2, but anyhow, I want to sort of control that space to some extent and perhaps get more good shots.
Right. I saw a recent seminar by Mochi talking about priming versus blitzing, and a lot of people are afraid to split over here against the stacks for fear of getting blitzed with the double fives or double threes. But in DMP, it's not much of a concern, and otherwise, it probably wouldn't be much of a concern anyway.
Right.
The other things I kind of look at is a lot of white's rolls are duplicated because the checkers on the 6 and the 8 are 2 away from each other, and the checkers on the 13 and 15 are 2 away from each other. So rolls like 4-2, 5-3, and 6-4 duplicated to make a point on the outer board or the inner board.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue. Just like that, 6-4.
Okay.
Now, when you think about this, like, what are you hoping to roll here?
6-4.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think 6-4 because I'm still only stuck 7 pips, and
Yeah.
a number otherwise, just roll a small number like 2-1 and just make the 4 point and live with the race deficit and just hope to win by hitting a shot mainly.
With the 4-2, would you make the anchor?
Yeah, I think down just, I don't know, 11 pips. This is a lot. Probably not. I think I would just make my 4-point,
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see what the rules.
especially DMP.
Yeah. 3-2.
All right, so 7-4 for sure. Here's the falafel. That's and the question of whether we make or it's a question of whether we play 24-22 or we just make our 4-point. For money, I'm not positive what I would do for money, but I think it's more of a consideration to make the 22-point. For DMP, you play with fewer anchors, you play a more offensive style game. We're down in the race and we've got a way better board, so I would just go 6-4 with the 2.
Yeah. Again, in DMP, you don't need to worry about getting blitz because gammons don't count. Okay. Now only 5-4 hits. 6-2.
Okay, so we're still down a lot in the race. This is a little bit tricky because, well, let's see, we could play 13-7 and keep the prime and duplicate a lot of aces. We could come out to 24-18, but again, we're down 16. That takes off some of the pressure that we rate to have. And playing 8-2 destroys some of our really good offense without enough gain, in my opinion. All right, I'm definitely not sure about this. 24-18 is a possibility. I don't really like giving up the midpoint, but I think down 16 pips here, there's just a lot of good rolls, and then we're basically hoping to roll a 5 on the next roll. It seems like we're working too hard. I'm not sure. I'll go 13-7 and just lay back and play for as much long-term contact as I can.
Okay.
All right, in with the ace. So is that 2 doing anything? He gets the hit with 5-1. I don't know. I don't know what gain. It could be a gain. So the guy on our midpoint is not really protecting anything, especially because our opponent has a spare on the mid. But getting hit, if there's a correct hit to be made in the next roll or two by XG, may give us some flexibility so that we can get further down in the race, which is a good thing in this position. And not have to break the 24-point at an inconvenient time. So I'll go 5-3.
Yeah. So now, is he going to make the 5-point with 3-1, 4-1 and make the bar point with 2-1 and 6-1?
Yes. So the only change is 5-1 where he's going to hit, but
Yeah.
that one could give us some flexibility. So we really risked essentially nothing. Do you have this thing that popped up? Or it's maybe just on my side.
Didn't pop up on mine.
Okay, it's
But
gone now. All right.
the other advantage of getting hit is you can anchor with a 4-3 or 5-4, which may or may not be good.
Yeah, or anyhow, just play with a flexible man and be able to keep the
Yeah,
24
keep the
point.
prime. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
So 6-5. And that was nice.
Yeah, well, and here's a sequence too, right? We were just talking about the next roll and sometimes looking even further ahead. Yeah, with a blank like this, now we definitely want to stay on the next roll, right? I mean, unless we're forced out with boxes with double sixes or something,
Right.
we're just going to keep that guy there because it's putting pressure on some of our opponent's numbers, which are going to play in more inflexibly by our staying there. So a couple of the sixes,
Yeah.
mainly the
Even
sixes. Yeah.
even I feel like double sixes, you'll still be down 24 after it. So you may want to stick back. I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, 3,
All
2.
right. So 8-3, sticking with our idea that we want to.
Keep this here.
It's now a distraction checker officially.
Yeah. A lot of people don't think about the distraction plays. It just kind of, it's an annoyance in the way of white there to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
See, 3-2. Well, I don't know if he would have come down. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. We don't know, but anyhow, that blot is doing its
It's job. Okay.
potentially doing its job. Yeah. Okay. So 8-4, 7-4, and then we have. I guess we just continue.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And notice there, right, that actually you had the choice to hit, but was concerned about the thing that we want, namely an extra man to create problems further
Right,
back,
right.
right? So it forewent that that possibility. All right, so now I think so we have the choice of going 7-2 and coming in, or we just go 8-1, but that's a little bit strange, but it keeps the prime.
So you
But
want
let's
to keep
go.
this checker here.
Oh yeah, you definitely want to keep that guy there. So 7-2 and 8-6. Yeah, I think this is best. Still try to make the points in order. There's a small swing in
So
some
next
sequences.
you'll be able to make it with a 1, 4, or 5.
Yeah,
And sometimes I like to think about what's my good rolls on the other side if possible, but you have to see what the fly shot will be.
yeah. All right.
So this double 4 hit.
It tries to.
1, 2, 3, 4. 6, 3, no.
Okay.
So 4.
Yeah, so let's see. So there's nothing that we gain on my staying, right? There's no roll off the hop. I mean, some things play awkwardly, but those fours anyhow, like 5-4, 6-4, we're just going to stack up the lower points regardless. So I think we just come out. Yeah, because we're not going to be able to hold. It'd be different if our men on, let's say, the 6 and 3 were further back.
Yeah.
Then we would just stay there because we could maintain the essential position with that man back and continue to fill in our board. But here we're getting a little bit too fast to do both. Okay. Okay, so 3-2 with the ace and 15-11.
So for the novice players here, of course you want to make this. So you can make it with the 1 or the 4. And I would have made it obviously immediately with the 1, 2, but explain to them why you want to make it with this checker rather than this checker.
Well, you nearly always want to make these points with the smallest number first. I'm sure there are some exceptions, but if you have the choice between the two, you want to make it with the smallest, and you want to preserve high builders that are far away from the 1 point in this case. So you have the man on the 6 is 5 pips away, and the man on the 7 is 6 pips away. So you can afford to roll big numbers and help to fill that in. And if you roll small numbers, that's good for your timing because you didn't move very much and have an increased chance of keeping your position without having to break the 24 point too early.
And then the reason to play the 4 from the 15 to 11 and not on this side is so you'll be able to make this point.
Right.
Okay.
Chances are getting skinny here. So 11-7 and 6-5. So you have someone just not knowing. I mean, it's conceivable to go 24-20, but there are just too many good rolls for the opponent especially to make the ace point, and not enough numbers that you're gaining on the first roll. So you would have 6-3, 6-1, 5-1, and then I said that 6-3, 6-1, 5-3, 5-1. So there are eight
Double sixes.
numbers. I'm sorry. Yeah. And well, let's see, but double sixes it gets you an extra 9 shot hitting numbers, right? So just to pause. So you're probably getting an extra 90 hits or so. The problem is that you're eliminating your long-term equity by all the times you get pointed on. And I'm pretty sure it would be different, in my opinion, if the men on our 7 point were further in, and you were going to have to be running for sure almost for sure on the next roll anyhow. Then I would gamble for the extra shots now, because you want to make sure you want to increase the chance that if and when you do hit a shot, that it's a winning shot. You don't want to be in the position where your board is now crunched down, where you have an open 6
Right.
point or 5 points. And so I'll go with this play.
Yeah, this is like a critical shot, what I call it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so now
We still have 4 hitters here.
6, 1, and 4, 3.
Yeah, all
5,
right.
3. So you
Br-
can't
br-
play.
Bring 2 in from the 7. We've come this far. I guess we'll see another couple of rolls, so we don't have to just end it this time. We've tried very hard to win this game, but all right, now we're okay. So 5 to 1. And this whole question, you can go 5 to 1 again, or you can really play it nasty. I think I would go 5 to 1. Yeah. Yeah, we'll hope if things go well, we get to fill in the 5 point again later. So
Oh, it's easier to fill in the 5 point as opposed to doing something like.
yeah, I mean, this can be right in certain types of games. I don't think this is one of them. Yeah. It could be right in a game where your opponent rates to come in with some 3s that enter, free up another blot or something if he gets it.
That's now we're looking for a 6, 5.
Yeah, or 6-1 or 5-1. That
5.
didn't help. All right. Okay, we hold on for dear life, 5 to 3 and 4 to 1. All right. Run out 24-19. Okay, I resign. Although I'll pick up some XG equity, just I guess roll quickly.
Oh, okay.
Again, we've come this far. So we hold it.
5
No,
left.
I wouldn't bring it in because we're not trying to save
Oh,
again.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 6 down, 3 to
Yeah,
1. All
yeah.
right, okay, yeah.
All right, here's your chance.
Here it is.
Oh, you got it.
All right, hit and continue.
Yeah. So now it's a containment game.
Yeah. Okay, so 17 to 12 and 8 to 5. Yeah, and we gain a lot. So we gain on double 5s, which otherwise we wouldn't have gotten a shot. And 5-1 frees up another blot. And we might get lucky, fans, and we roll a 7 and make this point. But we're really desperate because our opponent has so many men off, and we're okay with having a blot on the 5 getting hit. Okay, so 12, let's see. We still want to get hit. So 12 to 10. And so boxes versus, I see. Yeah, I guess you continue to the 9.
You're thinking about your next roll.
Well, I'm thinking about his next roll. For instance, I could go 6 to 5, but then I'm not gaining on 6-1 the way I'm gaining on 5-1, right?
Right.
And I think that's the main concern. Like, I don't want to pick that blot up because, as we said before, we're still quite desperate. And so if he rolls a 5, we're in trouble anyhow. If he doesn't roll a 5, we can bear off more efficiently by having a blot already on the 5.
And you get a better shot after an entering double 5 versus double 6. Double 5 would come
Yep.
here, where double 6 would go there.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So now, yeah, to the 3 and off. All right.
Oh,
Okay, I give up.
that's curtain.
Heavens to Murgatroyd.
All right. So let's take a
Okay.
look at the.
Let's see what we did here.
Was,
Another
this was the
6.
interesting one, yeah.
So 6-4 just run out. All right. Yeah, I
Close.
can live with 0.02. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do we do here? 6-4.
Another six.
Okay. So it wants me to stay. It's interesting. All right. I don't know. I don't. I mean, so the angle here could be, if he rolls, let's see. So if he rolls double 1, if he rolls one of the pointing numbers, I'm just trying to like resolve. It's not a big error, but I'm trying to resolve it. If he rolls, double 2s, 4s, and 4-2, that we'd rather be there because it slows down the timing again. That could be the swing. But okay.
Yeah. Okay.
4-1. Let's see what it,
4-1.
so it does want me to make
Oh, yeah.
all right. Let's see. Yeah. All right. I'm stuck with .02s.
Yeah,
24, 22.
that's livable. All right, so
All right, good.
we have time for one more.
I hope.
Okay,
How much time have we used now?
about 30 minutes so far.
Okay. All right. 7 point.
Now, an opening response to a 6-5 with a 2-1 is correctly played by slotting, but not with 4-1 and 5-1, at least for money. I think DMP may be different.
Yeah, but and even those are relatively close.
Yeah.
I know there's sticklers for these opening sequences that say no, it's clearly wrong by .01, and we've rolled it out, 500,000 times or something. But .01, and it can also depend on your opponent. If you're better than your opponent, you should be more inclined to make these early slotting plays, because if you don't get hit, of course it's good for you. But if you do get hit, you end up ever so slightly in more complex games, which should be good for the better player.
Never really understood when people said more complex games, but now I understand it's like when you have more checkers back, it creates increased complexity.
Right.
I learned that from playing so many back games.
Sure. Okay, make the 5 point. Okay, and go 8-4, 6-4. Oh, hold on. With the oh, you already moved.
I
Right.
can go back.
Uh, can you though?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, that's clever. Yeah, it's always good to play. I mean, at any level, it's good to play doubles slowly. All right, we enter with 1, and as Falafel would say, we make the 4 point. And now we have another 2 to play, and we're up 9 pips after the roll. This sort of somewhat automatic play is to go 8-6, especially because we've got a good formation already. And but to me, there would be some consideration for going 13-11, given that our opponent has a blot on his own ace point, which makes exchanges, should he hit us, most of the time we're going to have quite a number of shots to hit back. And if we don't get hit here, our chances of not completely sealing the game, but coming really close to it, if we can make our 8 point, that's a huge gain.
And
So
it does triplicate the 6-1.
it does indeed. Yeah, I think the other play is probably just too small. So what would I do if I was, I mean, the distinction is, since it's our last game, I guess we can deliberate this slightly more. But so if I was playing for money, I think I would probably play 8-6. I don't, because we already have a pretty good edge, not so much in the race, which is some, but positionally we have a big edge, and we can just sort of, trend toward getting a chance to double over the course of the next few rolls without having to take much risk in order to get there. So this would be my play for money. At DMP, you can afford to play more liberally in different senses, not like a wild man. But all right, I'm going to go with 13-11. We'll see if I
Yeah.
get punished by XG, but that's what I'll go with.
I feel like I might have just made the safe play myself because I feel like at DMP, the race is more important and you kind of already have a pretty good position with a 4 prime and a 3 point board. It does leave this awkward stack on the midpoint, but really who cares? You can kind of unstack them with the prime.
Yeah, I may be overplaying it, but I'm willing to do
We'll
it.
see. We'll see. Okay.
All right.
4-1 pick and pass.
Okay. All right. Now we have to lift this sucker.
Okay.
All right. All right. We're in pretty good shape here. Just run out 21-11.
Yeah.
Okay. So So let's see, I guess we can be a little bit close. So our focus is trying to make the 3-point or the 8-point. I guess I would just break the 11 with both of the men, right? Yeah, so that gives us the third builder.
Now say these two checkers were on the same point, either the 22 or the 23.
Yeah, then I would just play small. So I would have just gone 13 to 5. Yeah, there's no reason to give that
But
6-1
because of
shot.
that, I feel like a lot of people look at these and they're like, why is he volunteering a 6-1? You really have to look at the other side of the board, the entire board.
Yeah, it's extremely important. That's, I have a lot of different notes that have accumulated over time, and occasionally, I have to remind myself of one of my familiar notes, and one is it's sort of generically looking at the other side of the board, but particularly with at least a single blot, which turns out to, in many cases, be a difference of as much as 0.15 in equity, even though you don't rate to get hit. It's just it's a big factor. As you would say, it becomes a huge swing element.
I remember when I was playing in graduate school, one person told me, there's one thing to learn, look at the entire board. And that one sentence is very important. If you can remember that, that will help you a lot.
Yeah, well, especially if you understand what the other side of the board means. But yes,
Right,
of course. Yeah,
right. Well, he said the entire board, not the other side, but yeah, same idea.
right.
So double 3, now 4-3
Okay, so now we go 13 to 9 and 7 to 4. No gratuitous fly shots.
because of this board now. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. And up by 4 in the race. Now, the thing about being up in the race, but you still have these two checkers back, so red's has a significant advantage here. And if this were the starting position, red in a money game, red would have a double. Would you take as white here?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think I don't know what the count would have to be in this position, despite white having a 5-point board. It's just the timing's actually not very good. It's a funny thing. If you're down more, your timing's better to maintain the 23-point, which is bad for gammons, but poor for the race. But if the race is close, then your timing to hold the anchor is not so good. I'm pretty sure this is a pass. It's
Yeah,
very
what
different, from this position. Instead of holding the 23-point, you hold the 22-point. That position with this kind of race deficit would be a take. I feel pretty confident.
all right. 4-1.
Okay, nothing fancy. 13 to 9. All right. Okay, so we can give him 6-5 or just give him nothing. I guess 6-5 is too much. I just think for a second. I mean, this is, yeah, you could ask what I'm thinking of. I would tell you like nothing important. But I mean, it's you're kind of down in the weeds here, right? To play 13 to 9, you're going to I mean, you're probably going to get to this anyhow, but you might not get to this, and you still have the same number of builders. I think there's almost no swing number. So yeah, anyhow, it's just mumbling to myself. I would go 9 to 5. I'm not going to give this flash up.
So yeah, you play the 9 to the 6, and then how do you decide which ace to play, whether it's 6 to 5 or 5 to 4?
Yeah, that's
I don't think it's a big deal, but
yeah, it's probably a swing on some 2s, right? Because your 3s, somewhat like double 3s was already going to be good specifically. It's a little strange to have no spares on the 5. I think this ends up just like, it's rare that this is correct, even though it's by a small amount.
okay, no big deal.
I guess you could be saving like a single 5 that you might need from the 6-point. Okay, let's just let it go. All right, so here, even though you could make the 3-point, you definitely want to make the 8-point, because that seals your opponent in. He now doesn't see daylight. In other words, there's no single number on a die which will spring out one of those back men to, try to get in the race or whatever. So that's 2, and then 13 to 12, and continue.
Yeah, and notice that the race, actually red is behind in the race right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so 13 to 7 and continue. Yep.
So for the beginners, why is it important to play from the 7 to the 6 rather than the 11 to the 10?
Well, it's a more in general, well, one of the things, just, yeah, if you bring it into the 6, you can see that into the future here, you may end up having a problem with some of your 5s. Like if you want, 8 to 3, right, that you have a problem with some of those 5s potentially in the future. The 7 to 2 relationship, you can't play any of those 5s. So you might need this spare on the 6 in order to use a playable 5 without having to leave a shot. That's one thing. The other thing is that as you begin to clear these the blot and the other points from the outside, you're going to want to spare on this additional point. You might get stuck if you don't bring it in now to that point with not having a spare there and being more inflexible and less likely to make your 3-point, which is the next critical point you want to try to make.
Yeah, it's always important to think about how your numbers play.
Okay, so we have the, could almost slot here, but I don't think that's right.
So
All
it
right,
would be
so
slot if this board were inferior, not a 4 board would be.
yeah, if White was down to having only his worst 3 points, his deepest 3 points, 3, 2, and 1, then I would play 11 to 7 and 6 to 3, because getting hit I mean, even getting hit at this point isn't too dangerous, but it seems a little bit generous of us since we have such a big advantage. Anyhow, we're not too awkward. So
So
I
the
would
safe plays
go ahead.
would be either this or this.
Yeah, this looks smoother to me.
And then what, how would you describe it for the people that are learning why you would choose this one over one here? Because it does make
Well,
sense that you want to clear the 8
no,
next.
but there's one reason off the hop, right? You only have 3 spares to make the 3-point. The other way, you have 4 spares, so
Right.
we don't have to dig any deeper,
Yeah,
right?
you
Okay,
keep this flexibility here.
yeah. Okay, 7 to 1 for sure. Just this is how you should do it. Like it's, it may be somewhat clear. I don't even know how clear this is to remake the 7. The problem is if we go 8 to 7, White, yeah, may just be down to a 3-point board, whatever, but we have more significant bad rolls if we play it this way. So
5, 6, 4.
double 5s. Yeah, we're just more stiff in general, I think. So I would play, and we only have 3 builders to make the 3. So instead, if we go 7 to 6, right, we have 4 builders. Now, granted that we're allowing our opponent to exit on double 5s, and we would really feel sad if that happened, but I think it's worth that risk to have a better distribution.
It does gain on 5-1, doesn't it?
True. Yeah. Good backup point. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, there.
There you go.
Now you really want to hit because you're down 8 pips, but
Yeah. Okay. So, well, the 6 is forced, and yeah, I think we're supposed to just, if we just make the 2-point anyhow, I mean, I don't have to count the race, right? It's there.
yeah.
So, all right. So technically we're down a pip, but if you include wastage for White on the other side, his two spares on the ace are virtually cost an additional 2 pips each. So that's 4 pips in our favor. We're up 5 now. The 2 spares on the 2 are worth about a pip each. So that's 7. The spare on the 3 is worth some fraction. We don't have to get into that. So it's 7 pips that were up. He's on roll, but a lot of his numbers don't exit that man on the 22 point. And as well, there's a little bit more wastage, as it were, for his having open points on his 6 and 5. So he's not going to bear off efficiently. So I think this is right. I think giving him 20 shots from the roof, you can look at the alternatives so that especially the beginners could just sort of see what that looked like. Yeah. So this for a beginner, this looks crazy, I guess, in a way. But this is a conceivable play in some positions where White's situation, the raise is much better, or his home board is much weaker. So there would be considerations. But I think in this case, we make this sort of natural looking play, and just yeah, I think we're a pretty decent favorite as is. Obviously far from guaranteed to win, but I think this is the best chance to win.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of beginners who are not familiar with racing, bear off efficiency, and wastage. So like
Yeah,
number of
almost none of them,
crossovers,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
crossovers, the gaps. So can you just go through that again for the beginners? Like what does it mean by wastage, and how do you think about those things?
Yeah, well, I think the whole thing about, I mean, if it's someone's genuinely a beginner, I'm not sure the whole discussion about crossovers and wastage is necessarily time well spent. I'll do it if you want,
Well,
but
maybe for the intermediates.
right, or early intermediates.
Yeah.
The question comes down to how efficiently can you bear off. For instance, if White had all his men in at this point and was bearing off, forget about what Red's position is. But if anytime he rolls a 6 or a 5, he's technically wasting a pip, right? Because it's not efficient. If he rolls a 4, he gets to take a 4 off. But if he rolls a 5, it's he's just wasting a pip. There's one extra pip he doesn't actually get to use.
You don't get the full value of the roll.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy for all alternative words to describe these. So it turns out, and it's not a perfect science, but a few people over the years have kind of worked this out to give us reasonable guidelines as to um, adjusting our pip count, which here for White says 69, adjusting it for any blemishes, any things that will tend to lead to inefficiencies in the bear off. And so it turns out that extra spares, extra men over a natural point on the ace point. So he has 2 men there, but there are 2 additional men. Those 2 men, instead of being worth 1 pip each, are actually worth closer to 3 pips each. So you would deduct two pips times 2. It's a cost of 4 pips there. Already he's up to 73 instead of 69. And for extra men on his 2 point, those men, instead of being worth two pips each, are now worth 3 pips each. So that costs him a point times 2, and he's already up to 76 pips. Additional factors are if the high points really matter, and they matter because of this efficiency that we were talking about. So in Red's case, he has men on the 6, 5, and 4, and which is generally good for bear offs. And on the other side, White has no men on his 5 or 6 points, and we don't know, of course, the future of where his backmen on the 22 and the 18 are going to come around. At least one of them probably rates to get to his 6 or 5 point. But in the meantime, not having a man on either point, I'd say in this position maybe costs him another pip. So he's up to 77. And then we have this other issue of crossovers, and crossovers are tied in some respect. They're tied to this whole notion of efficiency, but without getting too much in the weeds with that. Assuming that White doesn't get hit or pointed on and just is able to keep moving here, Red has 2 men that he still has to bear into his board, and these are worth, I don't know, let's call them, given the placement, like 3/4 of a pip each. Does that sound? Um, it depends on your count system. Does that sound okay, Alex? We'll call them 3/4 of a pip each.
Yeah, I think that's I count a little differently, but that makes sense. I compare
Okay.
the number of crossovers, but yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I sometimes, anyhow, so I mean, he's got a total of 4 pips to literally bear into his highest point. But it's really just the actual crossing over, which is looked at. And again, I don't want to get too refined on this. On the other side, if we just look at how many pips our opponent has to get, because his is more pips, he's far enough away, we should discuss how many pips he needs to get into his own 6 point. The man
28.
on the man on the 18 has 12 pips to get in, and the man on the 22 point, where are we? Oh, has 16
16.
pips. Right, has 16
28.
pips together. Okay, yeah, well, you did the addition. I was just breaking it down.
Right,
So
right.
it's 28 pips, and the average roll is a little over 8 pips. So let's say that he has 3.5 rolls to bear in. So we were talking about 3/4 of a for each of those checkers for red to bear in, which is 1.5, and we got 3.5 for white coming around. So it's another 2 pips, and I think we were already up to 78. We're up to 80. So he's on roll, but he's down about 11 pips in terms of this type of analysis.
And what would let's say this were the position in a money game, red is on roll, what would be the cube action?
Yeah, this would be double pass for
Right.
sure. First of all, just from the
Despite the red.
racing standpoint, he already has a pass, right? And then obviously there's all this additional action, which much of which is going to favor red to eliminate white from the race altogether.
All right, very good. So now he runs. Okay,
Okay,
that's the
so
first one.
yeah, so 6 to 5, and looks like 7 to 5. We'll just give him a 3-5 shot to try to close out the board, and we're not leaving any shot on anything but double fives, right?
And that's nice because if he rolls the 4-3, you still have an ace shot.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Closure. Let's see. So we had another way to do this, right? Yeah, I know I know there are no gammons here, but it's not clear. You're still going to get hit like a fair amount of the time the other way, aren't you?
So this is a good educational point. Obviously, this one is force, and then the remaining 3 are going to take off all the same point, right?
Yeah. So we can just, yeah, I'm not going to, I'll literally go through the numbers. So let's just say we took 4 off. All right. Let's just say we did this. Okay. So now how many shot leaving? It's all 6s except for doubles, except for nothing, right? So that's 11. And the 5s,
5,
5,
2,
2,
5,
3,
2.
4, 5. All right. So that's another 8. All right. We're up to 19. Double 4s is 20. Is that it?
Click it.
Okay. And if we make this other play, okay, so 6-1 plays. Okay, so all the other 6s, that's 9. And then we've got 5, 2,
1.
3, 4, 5, like 17 double 4s. It's basically the same, almost the same. I think maybe it's 1 fewer shot here. Something, no, yeah, 4, 3. So I think we should take the men off, because even if it was 2 extra numbers that we're going to leave a shot on. I guess the only problem here is that there can be some, ongoing jeopardy, but I think the 3 extra men off should justify this play.
Yeah, so that does get 3 extra crossovers. It does leave this gap that you mentioned that may be a little bit difficult, but I think if white enters with a double, it's better double 5 than double 6.
Right.
Okay.
All right, we survive.
All right, so
Well,
let's
this was decent because we did get, I mean, especially for, for early level players, we got to discuss some additional things, which is
yeah,
good.
I think it was outstanding. Let's go through this last game, and I think this was a really good educational opportunity because going through the game, there were a lot of different types of positions that we saw, and it was really nice to hear the thought process going on in your head there. So let's see, what were the interesting plays? This 6-2. This was 6-0.
Yeah, but it has to go back before, right? Okay, so it wanted me to make this small. Let's see what this is.
These look like they're all pretty close anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I played so recklessly.
Reckless,
Uh,
no, 0.01
no,
point.
I'm joking. It's just like you have the two blots, and I guess there's some other.
Oh
There
yeah,
might
because of the two
there,
blocks.
yeah, there may be some other subtle things. I don't want to get in the weeds with it though. I think there's some subtle things that I can imagine would be the factors. But let's move on.
Okay. Yeah. Is there anything interesting? Should I just go through each one?
No, that's not. I mean, this has been a long time. Let's see if there's any actual.
Oh, this double 5 one.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for my, I mean, it shouldn't surprise anybody. But again, if we're talking to speaking to beginners, and if you're in a match or money and the cube has already been turned, then this play has the extra benefit of picking up a few additional gammons. You don't win a lot of gammons here, but it doesn't take much for that to be a difference maker to some extent. And here it turns out that for money or in a live match situation, you would get about 12% gammons by making the aggressive play of taking 4 men off, and you'd only get 5.2% if you made the other play.
Yeah, I think one of the key takeaways for the intermediates and beginners in these types of positions, when you're trying to bear off and you just want to bear off safely, you want to avoid being odd on the highest point and even on the second point. What I mean is having an odd number of checkers, in this case 3, on the highest point with an even number, like 2 especially, on the second highest point. You want to try to avoid that.
Right. And in this case, either way, you were going to be facing that situation. So that wasn't going to solve the question this time.
Okay, so let me stop this share and maybe you want to try turning your video back on now that we can
Uh,
see you.
Sure. I did look better like 5 years ago and in
Oh, is
orange, but yeah.
it, was
Yeah.
this from a few years ago?
Yeah.
It
No, I'm
looks
not,
like the same
I,
chair.
I'm not that vain. I have a grandson now. So
Oh, okay.
mhm.
Well, this was great. I think this was an outstanding video. I think a lot to learn from, and maybe I'll do some more of these in the future. I'm sure we'll get some good responses. Do you have any final comments or concluding remarks?
No, I enjoy again working with you, and I like the board. And I think we got some interesting things going, and I'd be happy to do this again. You have other people that you can obviously do the same thing with. I think it's a good thing. I can, within 45 minutes to an hour can be very instructive, especially for like somewhere between beginner and decent intermediates. Depends on the position, of course.
Right, right. I think it's my pleasure to have you on as always. I'd love to do it again. I know you have your basketball season coming up. Who are the favorites this year in the NBA?
Well, it kind of holdovers from last year. Certainly Boston and Milwaukee in the East. Miami's trying to pick up Damon Lillard from Portland, but I think they're going to be a little shorthanded. I think last year was pretty amazing that they got to the finals, but I wouldn't be counting on that this time. The Knicks are still very, very solid for the New York fans. I don't think they're true contenders to get to the finals. And on the other side, the Lakers are deeper than they were, and if LeBron and Anthony Davis can put in 60 plus games and be healthy for the playoffs, they've got to be live. Denver won the championship last year, and it's very difficult to repeat, and they're not a very deep team. But if the starters stay healthy the whole way, they've certainly got a chance to repeat. Anyhow, it should be a good season.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more roster changes from year to year nowadays than before, and a lot of games taken off due to injury.
Yeah, I mean, which, with what I do, it's like it's a little annoying, it's a little bit challenging, it's a soup. It's just, that's the way it is now. So
Right.
you
Okay.
you adjust.
Well, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you again for joining me. I really enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure to have you on and hope to see you again in the future, maybe perhaps even in a live tournament. I'd like to thank the viewers for watching. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below and what you'd like to see in future videos so I can work on that. I look forward to seeing you in upcoming videos. And until then, keep rolling your dice.